The New York Knicks are making more moves as the team has recently waived both Chuma Okeke and Marcus Morris, two guys who were signed to non-guaranteed training camp deals in order for financial reasons, and this means Landry Shamet will be making the New York Knicks 15-man roster for the season, and we have to talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video. Obviously, again, I've said this on basically the start of every video since then. New York Knicks traded for Karl-Anthony Towns on Friday night of September 27th. And guys, since then, the New York Knicks have not stopped making moves. The trade is a very complicated deal where the Knicks have to give out multiple players on non-guaranteed and some guaranteed deals. A man who was actually added in the trade that no one really knew about till recently was Divincenzo, who's also going back to Minnesota in the trade. Dwayne Washington, Daquan Jeffries, all guys on partial deals with the Knicks are all getting moved, mostly to Charlotte, actually. And looking at this Knicks team, they had to make a decision because they could not afford all of Marcus Morris, Chuma Okeke, and Landry Shamet. They could only afford one of them, and it looks as if they are going with Landry Shamet, as it was revealed by the New York Knicks themselves. They waived Marcus Morris and Chuma Okeke in a massive move. That means Landry Shamet is certainly making the roster, which makes sense considering you just traded Donte Divincenzo away. Forward is less of an issue for the Knicks now. They obviously traded out an all-star forward, but they acquired an all-star forward who can also play center. It gives a bit more of a different look in the front court. And between having some other guys like Josh Hart, like Mikal Bridges, like OG Anunoby, who could all play the 2 through the 4, it becomes this situation where the New York Knicks decided, what do we need? We need a guy who can catch and shoot the ball. Now, the weird thing is, Marcus Morris was the best shooter out of all of them from last season, but it was broken down greatly by Yossi Gulzan, who is a salary cap wizard. He basically gives Ian Begley all his good salary cap information. And as Gulzan mentioned, with Keita Bates-Diop looking like the only other player under contract outgoing, the Knicks will have a tight squeeze fielding a 14-man roster under the $188.9 million second apron. In this scenario, they'd have just enough space for a veteran minimum player, either Marcus Morris or Landry Shamet, and one of their recent second-round picks to be converted to a rookie minimum. Now, that rookie, it has not come out yet who it is, but I can tell you right now it's going to be Ariel Huckporti. The New York Knicks are always going to have a center problem until Mitchell Robinson is healthy. And that's not happening until at least January. Now we don't even know when, if ever, he'll be healthy again, based off the last video I dropped, if you want to go check that one out. The New York Knicks, they waived Morris. They've waived Okeke. They lost some forwards in the process. Obviously traded Julius Randle. You need another center still. That's still Karl-Anthony Towns, who is going to be the center for a bit until Robinson's healthy. And then Chuma, who's more of a 4, more of a tweener than anything else between the power forward and center position. And also Jericho Sims, Big Jerry out there. It makes the most sense to go out there and get some more depth in that position with Ariel Huckporti. Now, I will be honest, there's a world where it's Kevin McCullough now that I think about this in my head right now. Going into this video, I'm not going to lie, I was just ready to say it's going to be Ariel Huckporti, no doubt about it. The Knicks, they did trade 2 wings in Divincenzo and Keita Bates-Diop. There's a world where they decide to go Kevin McCullough Jr., the mini Josh Hart, especially because he's a mini Josh Hart and Tom Thibodeau likes that. It just makes more sense that the Knicks are going to add a bit of rim protection on this team. The center position is still pretty thin, whereas you have guys like Deuce McBride, like Cameron Payne, who can play either the 1 or the 2, like Tyler Kolek, who's a guard. You still have a good amount of guards left on this Knicks team, where it would make more sense than anything if the New York Knicks went out there and signed Ariel Huckporti. It's still the most position in need is your big guys. Karl-Anthony Towns helps that because Julius was less of a big than him and more of just a strict forward, like very, very strict power forward. Towns can play either the 4 or the 5 because of the way he shoots the basketball and can score. So it does lead to him giving a little bit more depth and security at that position than what they had with Julius when it comes to the center spot. So, looking at that, it does make sense to bring Ariel Huckporti in, but that's not all that this video is about. It's also about the fact that the Knicks have decided to move forward with Landry Shamet, which he was a guy who I think everyone was expecting the Knicks to waive. As mentioned, and this should say Ian Begley, not Landry Shamet, with the Knicks waiving Marcus Morris Sr. and Chuma Okeke, veteran Landry Shamet is currently well-positioned to make the 15-man roster. Obviously a fluid situation as the detail of the Towns trade have not fully been finalized. As Gulzan mentioned, you could bring in one guy. They're going with Shamet. He's a veteran. He's a shooter. He adds depth. He He's not Donte Divincenzo by any stretch. He actually didn't even have the greatest shooting season last year, but he was on the Wizards, and the Wizards are not even a real NBA team. That's not fair to the Wizards. Their GM has actually been very good at his job, and they've made a ton of good moves. Once they trade Kuzma also, that's going to be another good move, just adding on to your draft picks and all that. They're actually doing a great rebuild, so not to just beat up on the Wizards. They don't need that. But looking at this team, yeah, you needed Landry Shamet more than you needed Marcus Morris. The problem is Marcus Morris shot 40% from 3 last year, and, well, Landry Shamet didn't. Now, last season, Landry Shamet put up 7 points per game with 1 rebound and 1 assist per game, shot 43% from the field and 34% from 3. The key is he did shoot 42% on corner threes. Donte Divincenzo is a nasty corner 3 shooter, shooting 44.6% from the corner. So you get a guy who doesn't shoot much worse than that in Landry Shamet from the corner. Man shoots a lot of threes. Now, 70% of Divincenzo's shots were threes. Only 57 of Shamet's are, but Shamet is going to be a spot-up shooter, pure through and through. That is why he is on the Knicks now. He is there to spot up and shoot. That number is going to go up to around 75% of his shots being threes. And we could see him have a bit of a three-point renaissance. The man has had years where he's been a near 40 or over 40 three-point shooter. So it's not like this is more of the outlier year than, say, when Julius Randle shot 40% from 3. That was an outlier year and a sense that he shot well. This was an outlier year in the sense that Shamet didn't. So Landry Shamet, obviously a solid player. I'm a fan of bringing him in. I think he's the right guy. Chuma Okeke, I'll be honest, it didn't make much sense to keep him around. And Marcus Morris, it's just they have enough bigs now. They have enough guys. I mean, you have Precious who can now play some more 4, especially with Karl-Anthony Towns out there. Precious can play the 4 and kind of bang down low since the way that Cat spaces the floor, like almost no center in the NBA today. And it does give the Knicks a lot of wiggle room to do some fun stuff. Now, last season, Morris averaged 6.4 points and 3 rebounds between the Cavs and the Philadelphia 76ers, and I believe also briefly the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken on that. I might be wrong about that one, guys. But he shot 40% from 3, 43 in the corner. Most of his shots from 3 were assisted. He was spotting up. He was playing that 4 position, pure stretch 4. Also shooting 45% from 3. But the Knicks just have more power forwards, especially knowing that now Precious is going to play it, which I also might add is another reason why I think they'll go with Huckporti, is the fact that you can make Precious a full-time power forward, a position that he's most comfortable at, especially when you have a center like Karl-Anthony Towns, who's the best three-point shooting big man in the NBA today. Oh yeah, I'm on the Towns train now, man. I don't care. I don't care that I was hating on it last night. I actually do feel kind of bad. If somehow Karl-Anthony Towns or anyone who's friends or family with sees that I was just hating way too hard. Not cool by me. Obviously very emotional. Love Julius Randle, so it came from that. And DiVincenzo, obviously, I was upset at the trade. I'll still be honest. I don't know if it's a great trade personally, but this trade's growing on me a lot. This Knicks team, I mean, we're going to take a look at the roster in a second, but just looking at this Knicks team, it's an exciting group of guys. Now, this is what Golazon broke down. This is their salary cap situation. They are going to need to sign one of their two-way rookies to not go over the second apron. And you have one veteran to sign. That veteran is obviously going to be the man himself, Landry Shamet. And the Knicks roster, and this goes by salary, not by who's the best, is Towns, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achiuwa, Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, Tyler Kolek, Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, Pacome Dadier, and one of Huckporti or Kevin McCullough Jr. Knicks run a 9-man rotation. That means the Knicks 9-man rotation is going to obviously be starting point guard Jalen Brunson, shooting guard Josh Hart. It could be Deuce. I actually kind of hope it's Deuce. I like Josh Hart off the bench, but also Deuce does give you a bit more fluid scoring, and the Knicks do need some more fluid scoring off the bench. Given with rotations, you could use OG as a scorer. He likes having an increased offensive role. And you could use Mikal, who did a decent job being a shot creator in Brooklyn. And then you could kind of stagger Towns and Brunson enough to where usually one of them's on the court, so you have a lead scorer on the court at all times. They'll be able to figure it out. A lot of scoring in the starting lineup, so they could stagger all this stuff. But you got Brunson. You have one of Hart or Deuce. Let's go Josh Hart because it makes sense with Tibbs. He loves Josh Hart. Small forward, Mikal Bridges. Power forward, OG Anunoby. Center, Karl-Anthony Towns. This is day one I'm talking about, not down the line when Mitch comes in and starts and Towns slides down to the power forward spot. And then Mikal and OG are at the wings and Brunson at the guard. But for now, that's what we're going to see. And off the bench, we're going to see Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, not Josh Hart, not yet. We're going to see Precious, and there's a chance we get some Jericho Sims action. It's going to be one of Jericho Sims or Cameron Payne. It depends if the Knicks want to run smaller or bigger. I believe it'll be Cameron Payne, thinking about it. Payne is a veteran. They like the way he plays. They like the spark he gives. He's one of those guys that you love to have on your team, but you hate to see on the other team. I mean, he was so annoying in that Knicks 76ers series that I kind of like it. I like that we have an annoyance on our team. In a good way. Like, I'm not saying that negatively about Cameron Payne. He's good in a sense that it's annoying. And, that's good to have. I love this Knicks roster. I'll be honest, maybe I'm biased towards the Knicks. This roster is growing on me a lot, man. I'm really starting to like this Knicks roster and the way it's playing out. I still don't know if this was the right move, but it does really solidify that you have a deep team still, and also you don't have a specific weakness anymore. So we'll talk more about this trade as it goes along, obviously. It's still not even finalized, though obviously it's going to happen. So we'll break it all down, so make sure you're subscribed, like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, guys, and go Knicks. 3 videos today, man.